Good morning. This is Kelloland on the go with all you need to know in news and weather as you start your day.
Authorities in Minnehaha and Lincoln counties are investigating a pursuit that spanned 4 counties. It involved 2 women with criminal records, a stolen car, and 2 assaults on law enforcement.
It all started on Wednesday afternoon when someone at Ross Dress for Less called police. An officer showed up and was questioning the driver when she and her passengers started the car and tried to drive away.
He fell out of the car and then the car ran over him, and it was kind of the hip area, upper leg hip area where he was run over.
Authorities say Alicia Abdo was behind the wheel and Yvette Veo was in the passenger seat. They both face charges in both Minnehaha and Lincoln counties.
Authorities in Lincoln County are searching for a man who ran off after a crash. The sheriff's office says it happened in Harrisburg near the city shop area.
The man is believed to be 29 years old, standing 5 feet 9 inches tall, with brown hair and possibly a beard. If you have any information or know where he may be, you are asked to call 911 or the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office. An 18-year-old Watertown man is facing 2 rape charges. Authorities arrested Joram Hernandez Gonzalez earlier this month. According to online court records, the victim was under the age of 13.
Online records also show that Hernandez Gonzalez is out of custody on a $25,000 cash bond. His next court appearance is scheduled for September 5th.
Now let's get a check of our weather with meteorologist Brian Karstens looking at a long stretch of heat, Brian.
Yeah, we've got definitely batches of heat to get through. The first batch is arriving today in western South Dakota. And that means temperatures are passing the century mark. In Buffalo, Faith, Phillip today 107, Rapid City 102. Now, you get to the Missouri River, that's going to transition to some 90s for Huron and Mitchell. Sioux Falls, not that hot, but definitely warmer than yesterday. We're at 86, and we have a south wind at 20 to 35. So we'll deal with that wind as well in our eastern counties. So yes, we'll parcel out these batches of heat. We'll talk about the timing on that with your 7 days coming up in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Brian. While we don't know the cause of this week's fiery crash on Interstate 90, the South Dakota Department of Transportation says speed is very often a factor in crashes in construction zones.
The DOT says people need to reduce their speeds in construction zones because of the potential of having to make sudden stops, often in congested areas on the interstate.
Traffic can stop suddenly in work zones, which we see a lot of the problem that you come up on a maybe stop traffic, not expecting it. If you're going too fast, very difficult to get stopped without having a crash in those situations.
Very often, speed-related crashes in construction zones have a damaging ripple effect, causing chain reaction collisions involving several more vehicles. School is back in session for several districts this week. Montrose started school on Tuesday.
This is Kaylee Thompson's last year of high school. She says being a senior is both scary and fun.
I love to be like a leader, so like being able to lead the school is like one of my favorite things, and like showing the younger classmen like what it looks like to just have fun and stuff.
Other districts that started this week include Huron, Pierre, and Mitchell. The Harrisburg School District is less than a week away from students attending the new freshman academy.
The building is equipped with 40 classrooms, an auxiliary gym, and a theater. The $35 million facility has additional space for future growth.
Growth happens here quickly, and so we would like to be able to split into 2 high schools, and we'll need to at that point because we'll need the additional space again.
The district is expecting close to 500 incoming freshmen this year. That's a look at some of our top stories.
Now let's get one last look at your weather with meteorologist Brian Karstens. Brian?
All right, heat advisory in effect for western South Dakota today. You can see that area from Pierre to Rapid City, so obviously air temperatures alone will be over 100. Sioux Falls not in that headline yet. That might change tomorrow. We'll be into a zone of some pretty high temperatures and humidity. So kind of keep an eye on that. And then I think if we get a break on Sunday, be thankful for that, because then after that we'll have more of these problems with heat and at times humidity. Let's look at the next 24 to 48 hours. And on the maps today, clearly this wind out of the south, look at all these arrows. See how they're flowing up the James Valley from south to north, and that's going to be the case in Sioux Falls as well. So you get a patch of 80s there. Those 90s for highs start at Huron, and then the 100s showing up in western South Dakota. Tonight, overnight, we're going to see fairly mild conditions, and then that core of that heat will shift into southeast Ketherland tomorrow, and Sioux Falls will likely amplify. We could hit 100. We'll call it just short of that at 98 for a high, but Futurecast even lends itself to maybe a degree or two higher. Notice that the northern parts of South Dakota, north winds Saturday afternoon, and that's going to start to generate a cooling trend for a segment of time. And I know we're all kind of fixated on the 7-day and all this heat next week, but we are going to have some important items on Saturday night and Sunday morning, like a little rain trying to dot the radar screens in eastern Wyoming into the Black Hills. And some of that is going to come across northern South Dakota, and it'll be very effective at cooling the weather on Sunday. So if you're surprised by that, I don't want you to be, taken off guard by the fact that some areas of South Dakota will be cooler on Sunday. Even Sioux Falls arguably will be several degrees cooler on Sunday, but it's only temporary. The big picture pattern reveals all this heat draped across the midsection of the country. The core of that, Nebraska, Kansas, and Iowa. But into southern South Dakota, absolutely, we're going to have some problems next week with either excessive heat watches or warnings or heat advisories. Those kind of things will be common. We already have excessive heat watches for parts of northeast Nebraska starting Saturday and lasting into about Wednesday of next week. So oftentimes heat accumulates the stress on your body, and you got to stay hydrated and be aware that, we're going to see probably some of our most intense heat of the summer coming our direction. The high temperature forecast is close to 100 Monday, probably hitting that mark on Tuesday, Wednesday. I sure hope we don't have to raise those numbers a lot more. But if we end up running out of humidity, that is a consideration on the table. I've seen some data crossing the weather maps here south of Sioux Falls toward Yankton. We could be 105 to 108 a couple of days next week. And so with that said, Aberdeen, you folks are on the other side of this boundary a little bit more often. And so we could see some heat, but I would caution you, right now you're probably going to escape the worst of this. Watertown, Mobridge, same thing. Pierre, you're in between. We do see some flare-ups into the upper 90s. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is still kind of the core of the heat, but even these first 2 days of the forecast are plenty hot. And then the numbers for Rapid City. While we start off at 102 today, that may be the worst of it with just low to mid-90s. I say just, still hot, isn't it? Check out details with the rest of your weather at KETHLELAND.com.